Hello, God's good people. How are you this evening? I hope everyone is doing well. Glad you stopped by. Have some things I want to talk about today. And it's one of my inventory times. Periodically, I do inventory on myself. And I like to ask myself questions, where are you right now? Where's your head? What are you thinking? And I wrote down 10 things that I want to ask myself. And if you see, a reason to ask yourself some of these questions, feel free to do that. This is a thinking time. You know how the teacher used to tell you back in the day, put your thinking cap on. So I was just wondering, when we think about trying to make it on these YouTube streets, we have to go back and wonder, what exactly am I trying to do? What is my mission here? And try to figure out if you're on track, if you're staying on track. So when I think about surviving on these streets of life, the first question I want to ask myself is, where am I going? Do I have a sight in mind? Do I have a plan in mind? And I feel like, yes, I do. I worked for 30 some odd years, under the instruction of someone telling you when to do this, when to do that. And of course, on my free time, I had some time to do some things. But now that I have this time, this free time, so I think about that. Where am I going? Because with today's technology, you can speak to this phone and you're talking to so many people at the same time. So it's a very large area. I want to get the word out about the goodness of the Lord. That's my goal. That's my main objective. So yes, I know where I'm going. I'm trying to reach the lost. So what is my focus? My focus is on God. Because only what we do for him is going to last. Only what we do for Christ is going to last. So that's my focus. I keep my focus there. Because I know that's the area of that's most beneficial. To keep my mind on the Lord. So since he's my focus and I want to tell others about him, I think I pretty much have that in mind. That's what I'm focused on. What am I willing to sacrifice to survive? Okay, now getting a little deeper. So whenever you commit to something, there's always going to be some sacrifice that you have to make. You have to sacrifice the time that you would use to do other things, that you find enjoyable. You have to sacrifice some of that time. You have to study because you don't want to just present anything. You want to present something that's going to sink down in the person's heart. Something that will make them stop and say, never thought about that. Give somebody some food for thought, guiding them towards the Lord. That's what you need to do. Give them something to think about. So you have to learn how to gather your thoughts and how to relay them to the person so that they will get the understanding that God has given to you to release to the people. So that's one thing you have to do. You have to sacrifice some time. You have to sacrifice a lot of times your feeling comfortable about people's opinion about you. But if you've been in the workforce for a number of years, you've had enough bumps and bruises to kind of like be familiar with that territory. And it may not be so hard for some, but then maybe for others, it could be a little harder. And, I'm a baby boomer, so I came from the time when you did have a tendency to be more of a pleaser. You wanted to please, the people that you work for. You tried to do the best that you could do. When it came to friendships, you valued your friends' opinions and things like that. So, I think it's pretty much the same as it is today, but still different though, because that's kind of a long jump, from baby boomer years. I don't want to tell you exactly when I was born, but I'm a boomer, so you know exactly that era. So it's a little different today. But that was one of the things, that I used to focus on a lot, how people perceive me, because I didn't want to come off in a negative fashion. I wanted to be seen as someone who is cooperative and easy to work with, communicate with. I wanted to be approachable, all of that. Now, sometimes you do have to sacrifice that, because as you get older and you have encountered so many different people on so many different levels, then you realize, hey, in reality, you're never going to be able to please everybody. Yeah, I understand that. So then that goes back to my focus. Number 2, my focus. And that's what? God. So I have to take my mind off of the way man looks at me and try to follow the guidelines that God expects from me, because he is my focus and he's who I'm trying to promote. So you can kind of let all that other little stuff go and just focus on God's opinion, God's, how he looks at me as his servant. Am I doing things that's pleasing to God? Am I in line with his teachings and what he wants his people to know? So I go back and I focus on that. How much does it mean to me? That's number 4. And you really do have to think about that, because if you're going to make it to the end of this journey, it has to really mean something to you. It can't be just some little fly-by-night thought, or I'll do this until I'm bored with it. It has to be something that it means a lot to you. And when you get closer to your goals and you accomplish things, and it makes you feel like, Lord, that I hope this is pleasing in your sight. You want the Lord to be pleased with you, with your efforts and the things that you do. We can never do to any degree of what he has done, because we are not God. We can't do anything even near what he's done, but we follow his instructions of how to do it. He said that we would do greater things. So that's what you need to do. Just focus on how he looks at you, how he sees that you're following his word, and how close in your heart you are determined to follow his word. So if you stay on that track, then you'll be good when it comes to that. So it means a lot to me what he thinks about me, and how he feels like I am portraying and portraying his word. When people look at me, do they see God? When I speak to people, do they hear God? Do they hear him working through me? And another question you have to ask is, do I have a fear of failure? That can be a very, very important thing to look at, within yourself. Do you have a fear of failure? It's important to know that when you fail at something, or you don't quite hit the mark like you wanted to, that's actually not a failure. It's a learning process. Once you go down a road that is not well, it doesn't work well for you, and you don't profit anything from it, then that actually lets you know that you don't want to repeat that. So you make your mental notes, whatever notes you have to make, to let yourself know that, okay, I tried that, didn't work. I tried that, it didn't work. Then you think about the approaches that you made, what could have derailed that, but it's a learning experience. It's not a failure. It's not a failure. But I mean, some people can just pop up and do whatever they put their mind to. They're just that. They're just that motivated, and they know how to maneuver. They can do things quickly. Then other people, it takes them a little bit of time to get the engine going, to get it going in a way that you can actually see yourself progressing without too many pit stops. But some people, boom, they hit it and they're gone. They take off, So you have to ask yourself sometimes, do I have a fear of failure? And that very well could be sometimes, especially if it's something you've attempted before, and this may be another opportunity for you to try it again. So it could be a little bit scary, but if you have that drive in you and you're focused and you know where you want to go, then you'll get up and try it again. You get up and try it again. You don't let that fear overcome you to the point where you're stunted and you can't move forward, because that wouldn't be anything that you would feel good about. You can look back on things and you say, oh, I missed the mark on that one, but you still feel good about it because you actually put forth the effort to get the job done. So forging ahead, even in fear, sometimes you do get a lot of accomplishment from that, because you're not being stagnant. You're still moving. You're still trying, Okay, do I have a fear of success? Now, that's a biggie. Because believe it or not, you can fear success, because that is another level that brings more. You have to do even more. It's more effort. It's more planning. It's more organization. Because once you get to that level, you want to continue to stay at that level. When you get to that level, you feel like you've learned a lot to get you where you are, and so you want to continue that. And as a matter of fact, you want to improve on it. So sometimes it can be a little fear involved with being successful, because that you have to step it up another level. You have to step it up, to stay in that range of blessing. It's not a time to take a nap, like the tortoise and the hare. The hare took a nap because he felt like, oh, I got plenty of time. I can do it later. No, you really have to stay on top of it when you find yourself successful, because that's an ongoing thing. You have to really be motivated to stay motivated. You can't cross that goal line and say, okay, I've done that, because really that could be disappointing within yourself if you have this goal and you feel like, oh, I've made that, I've done that, so what is it then? Do you look for something else that's going to be, motivating you to move forward? Because some people are really excited about challenges. They like challenges. They like competition. If you can compete at something, every time they're going to boom. Hey, I'm going to be number one in this. I'm going to be number one. So I don't know what they're thinking, but hey, it's going to be me that crosses that finish line. Some people are really motivated by that, So that's why it's important to go back and think about where you're going and what your true focus is and what you're willing to sacrifice in order to survive. How much it really means to you, what you're trying to do. You got to think about all those things. And if you have fear, you got to talk about that, discuss that with yourself. I discuss a lot of things with myself. Discuss that with yourself and figure out, Do you have a fear of failure? And when you see success that's might be coming a little fast for you, then you have to ask yourself, am I afraid of that? When you start self-sabotaging, you have a certain amount of time to do something, and I want to do this on that day, and I want to do that because that third day I definitely have to do this. And you find yourself finding a little reason, well, I got time, I can do it, you put things off. So you got to think about it. Is this a fear of me succeeding at what I'm trying to do? you know talk to yourself about it. And of course, talk to the Lord, and Lord kind of point some things out, especially if you ask him to make it plain to me. Lord, what am I thinking? Am I thinking correctly? Should I feel this way? What is making me feel this way? Just ask him questions, and he'll point it right out to you. If you ask him and you honestly want to know, he will tell you. So if you're having feelings of fear of success, think about that. Then here's a good one. Are there any deal breakers? In any task that you attempt to do, any goal that you are trying to reach, there should always be something that you consider a deal breaker, especially when you're dealing with people. When you're dealing with a lot of people, you have to think about that. And even if the people are not right in your immediate presence, social media, they have a way to contact you when they want to say something to you. If they don't agree with something, they can contact you and let you know that they don't agree in whatever terms they choose. So you're still dealing with people. It is just over a computer, but still that can be very weighty if you let it. It can be very weighty on your psyche, how you think about it, how you receive it, or how the person presents it, because that's important too. Because usually people will listen to practically anything if you have the ability to say it well. It's how you present it, how you say it. People will be willing to listen, but if you, come kind of like swinging all wild, then that has a tendency to make a person put their guard up. But like I said, it's according to where you are in life, and I don't think it's too much that people will make me put my guard up. But that's probably age. Where everybody is not at the same age, but and haven't done the same things or whatever. So it's an individual situation. Okay. Are there any deal breakers? We do need to have some. So we need to set those boundaries for something that would come your way, and that is totally not acceptable. And I think one of the things that would not be acceptable is allowing someone to constantly tell you that you're wrong in everything that you do, everything that you think. They're not open-minded to the point where you can express yourself, taking all the care that you can, knowing that you are expressing yourself in the way that God would approve of course. But sometimes people can shoot down an idea or a feeling or an interpretation of something so quickly before they even understand, instead of asking what a person meant by that, or what did you mean when you said that? I don't understand quite what you just have to be able to talk to people to find out exactly where their head is at. If you're not understanding something, just ask, or make a respectful comment asking the question about, well, what do you mean exactly when you say that? Or I don't quite understand. You know what I mean? And that opens up dialogue, and it could be something that person could say that you would understand, and then you could try to get your point across. It just gives you a chance to talk one person to another respectfully. Okay, so that's the deal breakers. All right, number 8. is what I want to be clouding what I'm actually becoming? Because sometimes we can move so focused on what we want to do. And today you have to be really, really careful, because there's so much out here. This technology, I mean, it can have you looking at your own image and something coming out of that image's mouth that you didn't say. And you can see your image in a place where you've never been. You know, that's how this technology is today. And I can say I've done that on my videos. You know how you choose the background you want to have in your video, and all I had to do was put my image there? I can do it myself. So I know everyone else can do it who are into tech. They're tech savvy and they're into tech stuff, you know. So you have to think about that. You know, is what I want to become clouding what I'm actually becoming? So you can't get pulled in to every suggestion as far as technology is concerned, or sometimes you have to be careful about what type of groups you follow. You know, you got to check everything out with the Lord. You really have to check out everything with the Lord to find out if it's appropriate or not. Because you'll start off one way, and then before it's all over, you look and the ball done bounced all the way over on the other side of the court where you didn't want it to be. You know, and sometimes that can be done through ambition. You know, you're ambitious, you're trying to follow the trends and all of that, you know, but I don't know if trends is always a good thing when it comes to certain things. Because I guess I am kind of old-fashioned, you know. I believe in the old school ways of reading and understanding the Bible. And, you know, there's a lot of newfangled stuff going on, but I just don't seem to get the same anointing or the same feeling from a lot of the newfangled ways of doing things. Seem like I get my most comfort in sticking to the original plan that God puts down for us to follow, you know, without all of these different nuances that have come about over the years. Now, I'm not saying that I'm totally, you know, tone deaf to anything. You know, I will listen, but I make my own decisions, and I decide what is good for me is good for me with the Lord's say so. And what is not good for me, I don't bother with it. I don't have any problem with anyone, how they want to carry their own, you know, their own salvation out, or their own journey, their own walk. That's up to them. But once I say I'm not interested, respectfully, you know, that's basically it. That's basically it. All right. So, and number 9 says, is this a finish line race or a destiny journey? So are you on your mark, get set, ready, and you're going to start running, and then once you cross that finish line, that's it? Arms up. I did it. I did it. I did it. Or is this a journey? So when you get to that goal that you have in mind, then you say, okay, now what can I do at this new level? How can I reach some others, you know? And how can we reach? Because the ones that you have gotten to consider turning their lives over to the Lord and letting the Lord come in, then that's some other people that you can work with too. You know, you can start working with them, and then that broadens your group. It's more people to be able to go out and tell about the Lord, the goodness of the Lord. You know, so you can't get to a level and say, you know, okay, I'm done with that, I'm gonna move on. That is if you're sticking to your original focus. Now, some people might get to that point and they say, well, I did that. I tried that, and I think I need to branch off into something else. I tried that. It was okay. I think I was pretty successful, but I'm ready to do something different. Okay. All right. I don't have anything to say about that because we have to each work out our own salvation, our own soul salvation, with the Lord. It's an individual thing. It's a personal thing, but I feel like that's my focus, that's my goal, and that's what I'm going to stick with. So when I get to another level, okay, on this level, Lord, what is my next step? What would you have me to do? So this is a journey. This is a journey. It's not a race. You cross the finish line and take the, take the prize and all. No, it's a journey for me. And number 10, am I wearing my cleats of direction correction? Got to have your cleats on. And now in football, they have those shoes with the little, the little spiny things under the bottom. So when they're running on the turf, then it can dig in and you can get your momentum to go forward quickly. But if you get opposition, like we always do on these streets, you're going to have the enemy oppose you. So you have to know how to stop on a dime and redirect, and he's coming at you this way. You have to stop and redirect and go the other way. So we need to have our cleats on of direction correction. So we need to think that, think about that and keep that in mind, because that is very important. We have to actually be ready to pivot when it's time to pivot. Forward, great. Get your momentum. But when you see something coming at you, you got to know how to make that little twist and turn. Go around that and keep moving forward. Sometimes we can get caught up in racing to the finish line that we overlook a lot of gold nuggets of wisdom as we are sprinting through life's journey. So we always need to take that time. We need to take that time to assess the things that we are coming in contact with, the situations we're coming in contact with, and just learn from them, because that's what it's all about. From point A to point B to C to D, till we get to the end of our journey, which is when we get ready to go be with the Lord, because it doesn't end until he ends it. But we need to take note of the different things that we are confronted with and how to handle them, and to be able to encourage others. You may come across this, in your journey, but, we have to do this and this and that, to be able to encourage them, to keep them on the right track as well. And then they can encourage us by sharing their experiences. So it's an opportunity every day to learn something new, because we always have something new to learn. Always have something new to learn. So those are the things I was thinking about that would be a good little checkpoint. All right. Number 1 was, where am I going? Number 2 is, what is my focus? Number 3, what am I willing to sacrifice to survive? Number 4, how much does it mean to me? Where is my heart in this thing? Number 5, do I have a fear of failure? Because if you've done it a few times and it didn't work out, that can kind of make your heart feel a little, I don't know if I want to feel that again, so that can happen. And then number 6, do I have a fear of success? Now, the ones who have had a lot of failures, that success could be a little scary because it's not familiar. Sometimes you might get a little comfortable with the defeats because you're familiar with that territory. So when things take off and start moving, you could get a little scary about that, little apprehensive about that, because you're so used to handling the other situation of not being able to be successful. So then when you see that success coming, it's like, ooh, you can get a little, I don't know, can I handle it? As soon as I get there, is it going to be right back where right back where I was? So that can get to you. That can get to you, but just have to have faith. Talk to the Lord about it. He'll give you courage. Okay, number 7. Are there any deal breakers? Definitely consider that. Definitely consider that, because if you're trying to do things the Lord's way, there should be some. So you need to think about that even before you dig in and get your feet in the journey. But there are some. So think about what they are for you. All right, number 8. Is what I want to be clouding what I'm actually becoming? Think about that. Just do a self-eval and just look at yourself and say, okay, am I cruising for a bruising? Or am I staying on track with what God is expecting of me? Am I doing things that are pleasing in His sight? Number 9, is this a finish line race or a destiny journey? When you cross that finish line and you won that race, don't just take a lap around or walk around and take get your wind back in you and then go on off to the sidelines and say, "Ooh, I'm glad I've done that." No, it's a journey. And a journey means you continue until the Lord say you're done. You're finished. And you've done a great job, because that's what we're striving for. We want Him to be pleased with our service to Him. And number 10, am I wearing my cleats of direction correction? And that one should keep everybody going. When it's time to pivot and turn and change course, then we should be able to do that, because we're going to be always in contact with the coach, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We can ask Him, which way should I go now, Lord? This is coming at me. What should I do? Should I go left? Should I go right? Should I back up a few feet and then go around? Just ask God about it. Ask Jesus about it, and He will definitely direct you. So if we just do an inventory from time to time and ask ourselves some of these questions, I think that we can make it on these streets. We can make it on these YouTube streets or any other streets. Any other streets. Because we have the Lord in front of us to guide us. And I want to close this out with Psalm chapter 19, verses 7 through 14. And I'm reading this from the New International Version. All right. I'm going to start with 7. All right, here we go. The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The ordinances of the Lord are sure and altogether righteous. They are more precious than gold, than much pure gold. They are sweeter than honey from the comb. By them is your servant warned. In keeping them there is great reward. Keeping them are a great reward that'll be waiting for you. Who can discern his errors? Okay, who can look at themselves and find out what's wrong? Forgive my hidden faults. Keep your servant also from willful sins. This is David that wrote this song. May they not rule over me. Okay? He doesn't want his sins to rule over him. And that's what we need to do. We need to check ourselves from time to time to make sure that we are still walking in God's will. Then will I be blameless, innocent of great transgression. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Yep. And that's what we need to do. Make sure that the things that we say and the meditations, the things that's in our heart that we are striving for, that they will be pleasing in God's sight. Pleasing. We want to please him. Oh Lord, my rock and my redeemer. So I wanted to share that with you because periodically this is what I do. And so I just decided I would write down 10 of those things and share them with you. And I hopefully some of it helped you, gave you something to think about or consider. So thank you so much again for stopping by. I pray you have a wonderful day and a blessed night. And know that God loves you. And you know what? I do too. God bless you. See you next time.